Okay, we're going to go over the fulcrum distance. The fulcrum distance is the distance from the cue ball contact point to your bridge hand where you're setting yourself up. A lot of players may have issues with setting themselves up way too close to the cue ball like so, or even too far back. The advantage or disadvantage of each of those is if I'm too close to the cue ball, I'll be accurate, but I'm going to lose a lot of power. And if I'm too far away on this cue, I'm going to be more powerful, but less accurate. And what the idea is, what we want to have is a mixture of both those. So you don't want to have too much more of the other. You want to make sure it's a nice blend of both those right there. So what we're going to do is find the correct distance between the cue ball and a bridge hand. The good way to use that is using a tape measure. I'm going to use my handy one right here. We're going to measure the distance between your elbow and the center of your wrist. So I'm going to go to my elbow right here, all the way to the center of my wrist, which is about 10.5 inches. We'll say about 10.5 inches. We're going to use that 10.5 inches from the cue ball point right here. We're going to mark that 10.5 inches right there, my mark right there. And what I want to do now is when I approach my shot, I want to keep my bridge hand just the center of my wrist, right in that mark I just made right there. So I'm going to get my cue set here. I'm going to be approaching my cue ball contact point. My distance, again, is going to be on my mark. That's going to be my center of my wrist. So when I get on top of that, I line up, then I start my practice strokes again. Now, to make sure that we're correct in the right spot, I want to make sure my mark is in the right area every time. So I'm going to do that again and see how well I perform my fulcrum distance here. So it's a very, very nice tactic way. I prefer almost to be maybe about a ½ inch further back, I think, from where this mark says, but having that distance can make a really big difference in your game of how well you're being accurate or inaccurate. Another good way to make sure that you have the right setup is if I have my fulcrum distance set and I'm in position here and I get to my set point on my cue ball, I can now maybe make a mark on the top of my cue stick right here somehow, just to make sure it's a good reminder of where I should be setting my bridge hand from how far away from the cue ball.